And welcome to this meeting of the Licensing and Regulatory Committee. I am Councillor Ollie Walters, Chair of the Licensing and Regulatory Committee, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. The meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. The whole of the meeting will be recorded except where there are confidential or exempt items. If any member of the public attending the meeting objects to being filmed, please advise us immediately and we'll ensure that they are not included in the filming. Members of the public and the press may record, film, photograph or broadcast this meeting when the public and the press are not lawfully excluded. If you are intending to do so, please could you inform the committee clerk. May I please request that mobiles are turned off or switched to silent and that your laptops are also switched to silent. If you hear the fire alarm, please leave the building immediately via a fire exit and make your way to the assembly point at Ipswich Town Football Ground. Thank you. Can I ask the officers attending the meeting to introduce themselves?
Nigel DeLue, I'm legal advisor to the committee.
Thank you.
Tracy Howard, Protection. Licensing Officer Catherine Green. Licensing Officer Kerry Chandler.
Governance Officer Karen Sayer.
Thank you. Can I now move to the agenda, please? Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from Councillor Bradbury, Councillor Carter and Councillor Pratt.
Thank you. Can I ask if there are any declarations of interests by councillors present? No? Thank you. Item 3. To confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of November 2024. Are any members that were present, are there any points regarding the accuracy of the minutes? No? Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Baker, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Overett, thank you. The lead officer, Regulatory and Civic Office will now conduct the electronic vote.
Thank you, Chair. That vote is now in progress. Councillor Wiltshire, can I take your vote? Councillor Linder, can I take your vote?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Have you managed to vote? Councillor Linder, have you managed to vote? That's 5 votes for, Chair, and 1 abstention, so that's carried.
Thank you. The minutes have been confirmed and will be signed at the end of the meeting. Agenda item 4, to receive notification of petitions in accordance with the Council's petition scheme.
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions from councillors?
None received.
Thank you. Okay, so move on to item 6. I will now invite the leading officer to introduce paper MLR 24/6 to the committee, Statement of Licensing Policy 5-yearly revision.
Thank you, Chair. The Licensing Act 2003 requires licensing authorities to publish a written policy setting out how they propose to carry out their licensing functions, the principles they will follow, and their expectations of licence holders. This policy must be reviewed every 5 years. However, it will also be reviewed if changes in legislation occur, ensuring that it is fit for purpose. As part of this review, the Baber and Mid-Suffolk policies have been combined to create a single policy for both districts. In addition to this, the policy has been updated to include additional aims and purposes as identified in the Section 182 guidance. The summary review changes are detailed in Appendix B. As part of this review, the draft policy will be subject to consultation, and we are recommending that committee approve the draft for a 6-week consultation period. As the proposed changes are in line with government guidance, if there are no representations or objections, we would ask that this committee deem the policy approved to full council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So just to clarify, this is to approve the policy to go to consultation, and if it goes to consultation and there are no representations, then it will go to full council for approval. Thank you very much for the work that you put in. It seems very clear. Can I ask if there are any questions from councillors present, please?
Is this about the report as a whole, or is this about the introduction?
About the report, agenda item 6, yes.
Okay, are we working through it, or do we just...
No, I mean, I've read it. I have a couple of questions. I'm throwing it open to the floor. So if you have a question about the report, that is the main function of today's meeting. Do you have a question, Councillor Overett? Yep.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the scope of the report. I wonder if there's any leeway to make perhaps a more strong encouragement or even a requirement for the Ask for Angela scheme.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead and answer.
Thank you for your question. As a team, we have obviously discussed this, Ask Angela, and it's something that we take very, very seriously. We're obviously aware of the press coverage of this recently, where not necessarily around here in our area, that the police and licensing officers had gone into a number of premises and the staff knew nothing about Ask Angela. We have regular updates with the police. And I'm happy to say that we have got meetings in progress with them where we will be visiting our premises in the area to go in and talk to them about the fact of Ask Angela, to make sure that they are aware, and also to check that they're also following their licensing conditions on their current licence. We wouldn't necessarily be able to put something specific on their licence with Ask Angela because the government could possibly change that legislation, and then that would mean the premises licence holder would then need to put a variation in for their premises licence to remove that condition and put another condition on. So that's the main reason why we wouldn't be able to possibly put that in as a condition on all licences, because of the way the rate things change, and it would mean they'd have to reapply again. But it is something that we take very seriously, and we actively encourage it as good practice for all our premises.
Thank you. Follow-up question?
Yeah, I just wondered if there would be any benefit in a stronger encouragement, maybe for licensed premises to actively consider taking that on, knowing it, you know, in previous safeguarding roles that I've had, knowing that it is a really good way to get staff and volunteers thinking about the value base and what's important about safeguarding. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So with accreditation schemes and trying to promote safeguarding, we do work quite closely with our communities team and the police. The team are always encouraging adoption of such schemes. We don't have particularly high crime and disorder in areas, but we don't say that things don't happen, but we want to have that attitude and influence to be able to protect people and they feel safe going out. The organisations that have actually come up with these schemes have actually said a voluntary scheme actually gives more ownership as well. So for the right reasons that the officer has explained is we can't condition it. But what the team are doing is we're going to be working more closely with communities and those safeguarding. But not just that, things like accreditation schemes like licensing savvy is an option. We don't run any purple flag premises or best bar none, but and pub watch, those could be things that we look at as well. and we want to encourage businesses to be running thriving businesses, and that's the important thing, that these schemes actually give them that identity. So, but yeah, we're very committed.
Can I also just add, Chair, the premises that I've been into in our areas, both in Baber and Mid Suffolk, I'm very pleased to say that a lot of the toilets have got Ask Angela on the doors when you go to the cubicles. So they are actively advertising it, which is good.
Thank you very much. Can I just add as well, because I believe there's an Ask Clive.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a question. So in Appendix A, 19, on page 32 of the full paper, 22 of the report, 19.10, I wonder if we can change, or what your thoughts are on changing the word may in both point 10 and point 11, 1910 and 1911, to must, because I think with larger premises, with door supervisors, I think we should have an appropriate record, names, details of who's on the premises, as opposed to it would be nice to have. And then 1911, licensees must be required to keep a record of all door supervisors' security. Is that something that we could add in? I mean, if there's a reason we can't, then we can't. But I think may just leaves it a little bit open to.
Yeah, I mean, we're following the 182 guidance as closely as we can. So we want to give some flexibility in our policy. We don't want it to be too directive. But if there is some suggested word, I think must might be a bit strong. But if we said something in, where applicable or circumstances require it, because it might be something that we put on and then have to take off again, and it's not that consistent. So we're not getting many issues in relation to this anyway. So we haven't got premises many that require door supervisors. No. So would we be overzealous by doing that in our policy? But I think if there were a good reason, we could do that at the right time, definitely.
So, Chair, if I could also highlight that they will all be SIA registered doormen anyway. That is an obligation, so you do have the comfort that they have gone through that registration process.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you, Nigel, and thank you, team. I think for me it's just about the numbers and knowing that we've got the right numbers on the door and that the numbers of SIA that we've got are correct. But yeah, I take on board, the overzealous nature of the word must, but equally, our job is to ensure that the public are safe and that our premises are doing what they should do and they're doing it, to the letter. Yes, Councillor Wiltshire.
Rather than must, how about should? Which is slightly stronger than may.
It's a joint policy. We've already had the Baber committee this morning who agreed the wording, so as long as that's consistent, yeah. And I don't think it should be an issue.
Right.
Sorry, just to add to that, when applications come in and they do come before a subcommittee, there is always the option of imposing conditions that they must have a certain number of supervisors on certain times. So although it says may in the policy, it may transfer onto a licence that it is an obligation.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. One other question from me, and then I think I picked up on a typo. I might be wrong. 22.1, which is page 42 of the document, 32 of the report, includes the protection of children from moral, psychological and physical harm. Should we have emotional harm in there as well?
Again, that's come out of direct out of the 182 guidance. So I I suppose, what is your definition of emotional harm, and would licensees understand the concept of that? I suppose from a government perspective, it's not in the guidance. Would it be sensible to put it in? I can't really answer whether it's right or wrong, but I think I would be guided to stick with the guidance wording for consistency. We have benchmarked with other policies. Some very active authorities like London boroughs as well, and that is the exact replicate wording that we've used. So if you think there's an issue there regarding that, or a good reason, then yeah, for completeness, or is it for...
Well, you know, I appreciate it's difficult to, you know, define emotional harm, but, you know, so would be the case for moral, wouldn't it, and psychological. So, you know, it is one of those things that I think we should be looking out for. But I take on board your guidance, and you're sticking to the code. Councillor Linda, and then Councillor Baker.
Under what conditions would a supervisor actually be entitled to do a body search? And also, what would happen if the person approached would say, no, thank you very much, I won't have a body search? Should we be specifying this in this document, or should we not?
Thank you, Councillor.
Are you able to tell us what part of the policy that's in reference to, Councillor Linda?
Sorry?
Are you able to tell us what part of the policy that's in, just so we can locate it?
Well, it's 1910, I think. Yes, a female supervisor. This just raises the question, in general terms, when is a supervisor actually entitled to do a body search in the first place? And who gives the supervisor the authority?
The SIA registered door staff at the premises would have obviously their guidance on how they deal with this situation, and obviously we would follow their regulations and guidance on whether, as you say about body searches, and if they refused it, they would revert to their SIA regulations. Is that correct, Nigel?
Should we have those?
Yes, sorry.
Should we have that as a kind of appendix to this document? So
a search may be appropriate in certain circumstances if there is a reason to believe that a search is required to prevent illicit items being brought into the premises. It's always an option for someone to refuse to be searched, but it's also the option for the premises that's licensed to refuse entry, which is what I would expect would happen in those circumstances. But I think a search under certain conditions is perfectly permissible.
I'll come to you in a second, Councillor Baker. I wanted to ask another question about 1910 because Councillor Linda brought it up. Would we think it would be sensible for a female supervisor to be available always?
Yeah, without knowing the intricacies of it's all specific to premises and the licence and the history and what's gone on there. If there was, premises that was suspected drug use, perhaps, and the police might stipulate that as a condition on that licence, you'd have to put in equality and diversity requirements within that control measure. So the SAA would be able to advise on what they could offer in terms of support as well. But yeah, I mean, if it was a premises that had a high throughput of people, that could be a requirement on their licence if it was required.
So it comes back to the premises licence application.
Yeah. And the police are very good at informing us of if there is a premises that has got SIA staff, and they're very quick to analyse if there is a problem there, and then they will pull them in and say, actually, you need another condition on your licence with regards to SIA, and what you've just brought up. If there is that circumstance that happens there, then something like that could then be put on their licence as a new condition, because the police will inform us that they're not happy with how it's being run, they need extra store supervisors, or if they needed a female, or etc., depending on each premises. But they're very good at that.
Okay,
having
thank you.
informing us.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you. It's a really comprehensive principle document. There's loads here. I just wanted to mention about the training, and it might not be for now, but it might be for the, you know, when it comes from the next sort of reiteration of this. It's sort of a training schedule, if you like, or a training kind of catalogue, because it mentions training in lots of places, but it's quite helpful to see sort of a full list and be able to see actually has everything sort of been ticked off. I've been in obviously lots of venues over the years, and it does differ depending on the owner has a full grasp in many cases of all of these things, and I've seen them jump into action, but the staff seem a little bit shocked and, you know, a little bit unsure about why the owner has dealt in that way. So it's actually all of the staff, you know, because the owners are not necessarily always there. So I would like to perhaps see a good training list that all staff will commit to, an element of training with different venues. So it'd be helpful to perhaps see that in a comprehensive list.
A lot of licences in our area do have that condition on there that all staff must be trained to the appropriate level and must know about the licensing laws, etc., etc. So they would, not everyone has to have a personal licence to work at a premises, but we actively encourage that they get as many people as they can to have a personal licence, which means they go on a personal licence course, and then obviously the licence needs to be granted through the council where they reside. But there are a lot of premises that have that on there that they actively encourage, or they have to make sure their staff are trained. Some of them go even further to say that they need to have records, which we've been into a number recently where we've done premises checks, and we'll have a look at their books, so they've got proper training records and it's ticked off and marked, and they have to do it every 6 months. Some do it every year, but we actively encourage that when we're doing new premises licences. We always put in a condition about having staff training, because as you say, the owner doesn't have to be on site all the time, the DPS doesn't have to be on site all the time, but whoever's in charge on that night needs to know what they're doing and have the correct training records. So we do actively encourage that with any new licence, and the majority have it on there already. But yes, take your point.
Thank you. So my typo spot is on page 41 of the paper. Second bullet point down, prominent, clear and legible notices are displayed at all exits requesting the public to respect.
Which appendix is that?
Appendix A.
Yeah.
So it says at all exits requesting the public to respect, and then there's a clear new bullet point, the needs of local residents. So I just think somebody's hit return.
Sorry, which appendix is that? 'Cause our pages don't collate with yours. 2110. Right, so how we...
The second bullet point, there should only be 4 bullet points, I think.
Yeah, I can confirm that that appears to be a typo, so we'll
Yeah.
edit that before it goes out for consultation.
Thank you, thank you. Another question, Councillor Overett.
Thank you. Yeah, the point 20, terrorism, the emphasis on public protection is very welcome. I just wondered if there's any scope, apologies if I've missed it, but any reference to the public being empowered or guided to report any concerns that they might have. Sometimes it's about having the language to report a concern, or an element of reassurance that they'll be responded to positively.
Apologies, Councillor. Which bullet point was that in the...
I'm sorry, it's the terrorism protection.
Right.
From 2019 onwards.
Thank you. You all right?
Just thinking, anyone can actively report things to us, can't they?
Yeah. I don't know how you would word that in a... So what was the last? What was last?
I think it was something.
Could I just add?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
A bit like the Ask for Angela posters give people
Okay.
that language.
Yeah.
You know, this is a venue where you can say if you have concerns. Obviously, you don't want to encourage people to come up with, you know, over sensitive responses, but just carefully phrased messages.
Good point.
I mean, we can do it, but I'm not sure how we do it.
Yeah, I think it's something that will be a partnership publicity campaign with the police. And because of Martin's Law being quite recent, we're not the enforcing authority for Martin's Law either. But obviously we want to have public participation and people to be the eyes and ears of problem premises. And we do get that with the border requirements and things like that. So we do inspections with various agencies all the time. But yeah, that's something we can be part of, but I don't think it's something we could lead on, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? Okay. In which case, I would like to open the item up for debate. Would anybody like to start? If indeed there is anything to debate. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Chair. No, I'll be brief. It was just to say thank you to the officers involved for putting together this report. It's particularly, as this is the first time I've attended this committee meeting, it was very comprehensive, very easy to understand, so thank you for all the effort that's gone into it. I shall certainly be voting for this to go out to consultation ahead of a full council meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Overett.
Yeah, I agree. It's another excellent piece of work.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Linder.
I would like to agree with the previous speakers. Great job done, and I'm very happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm getting a thumbs up from Councillor Baker, and Councillor Wilshire, and we'll go for a full house. We won't call bingo though. Excellent. Okay, so the recommendations therefore are that the Licensing and Regulatory Committee agree the draft policy for the purpose of consultation, that the Licensing and Regulatory Committee agree a consultation period of 6 weeks, that the Licensing and Regulatory Committee deem the policy approved to proceed to full council if there are no representations or objections made during the consultation against this draft policy, subject to the amends that we've agreed earlier. And the final decision to adopt or revise a licensing policy under this Act must be made by full council. The Licensing and Regulatory Committee will be asked to resolve to recommend the adoption of the revised licensing policy to full council with any additional revisions after considering the consultation responses. The lead officer, regulatory and civic office will now conduct the electronic votes.
We just need a proposer and a seconder.
Beg your pardon, could I have a proposer for that? Councillor Richardson and seconder Councillor Linder.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the vote for this item is now in progress. That's 6 votes for, Chair, so that's carried.
Thank you. That is therefore carried. Thanks, everybody. Reiterate our thanks to the officers and the licensing team for all your hard work. And I now declare this meeting closed at 1:58.